So, what is the best type of economy? Is it the mixed economy? Why India is mixed economy? Because of the poverty alleviation is required, protection of poor, planned development of the country, distribution of necessary resources are required. So what is the best type of economy? See, there are debate on the factors of production is very old. But the new debate is should the state produce or private productions should be allowed? Is the new debate, or mixed economy is the best solution? Capitalist turning into mixed economy during the depression. Process of paperization of masses has been taking place. Government took the control of producing the government took control of producing and supplying some basic goods and services which are known as public goods. 50% of the GDP was spent on the public goods, schools and healthcare. Private goods were given free. See, market socialism is a new concept. What the Keynesian told for the capitalist, that what Keynesian told capitalist that we have to inculcate some socialist principles, that is government intervention is required, and also some government production of that public goods is required, social sector is required to boost the demand. We need some socialism principles. What Keynesian told for the capitalist, the same thing in different form the Oscar Lange told for the socialist principles. Socialist state economy, that is complete state economy is also disastrous. So some socialist principles must include capitalism as well, that is market forces must be included in the socialism, that is called market socialism. It is told by basic edifice of this market socialism is nothing but inculcate some market principles in the socialism. It is told by the Oscar Lange. Market socialism is a term coined by the Oscar Lange, suggested that the same things for the socialist economy. Lange praised the state economy but suggested to look towards capitalist economy, advised market socialism. He coined a new time. For example, this market socialism is adopted by the 1980s, reforms of 1980s. What Russia, USSR reforms of 1980s, glasnost, perestroika. Glasnost means openness, and perestroika means restructuring of its policy, and also open door policies of China. But why Russian reforms, market socialism reforms failed? Why? Because Russian market socialism reforms failed because of the mismanagement of economic conditions and the political conditions. But there are some prerequisites must be there in order to for a smooth transition. There require some prerequisites for any economy, which China has succeeded in the aftermath of Mao's in 1975. Glasnost was taken to mean to increase the openness and transparency in the government institutions and activities in the Soviet Union USSR. Glasnost reflected a commitment of the Gorbachev's administration to achieve following Soviet citizens to discuss publicly the problems of their system and potential solutions is called Glasnost. It is a reform policy by Gorbachev. Perestroika was a political movement for reformation within the Communist Party of the Soviet Union during the 1980s, widely associated with the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev and his Glasnost, meaning openness, policy reform. Perestroika means reconstruction or restructuring. Failed Mao Zedong's policies, great leap forward and great cultural revolution. Mao Zedong policies in China in 1960s started a great leap forward and also great cultural revolution, but they are failed. In 1985, China announced its open door policy, the first experiment in the market socialism under the Deng Xiaoping. Invited FDI, privatization of some industries. So limited in a smooth fashion it has been done in China in 1985. Open door policy of Deng Xiaoping. Mao Zedong's policy of great leap forward and great cultural revolution has been failed. But in 1985, China announced its first open door policy, the first experiment of market socialism under Deng Xiaoping. FDI, privatization, capitalism. So is market socialism is a success? Soviet Union idea of glasnost, openness, and perestroika restructuring resulted in its USSR disintegration in 1990. It was a political fallout of an economic mismanagement. China was prepared for a phased shift, not a transition, a immediate transition, but a phased shift. In 1980s was a fixed for world governments. 1980s was a fix for world governments. Mixed economic countries. Post the Second World War, countries decided to adopt a mixed economy like India, Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. to name a few. In 1990s, World Bank took authoritative step to open up Indian economy, mixed economy. The second IMF and World Bank asked the governments to mark their territories of interventions. That is, see, uh, during the independence, after the post-independence, also India adopted a mixed economy. But 1991 also there is what is a change of economic structure that India adopted in the pre-independence period and in 1991 is the concept of the mixed economy that the India adopted is same, but the composition of the government is to private. That is where how much the government should extend and also how much the private should be limited. The composition or a mixture of government is to private ratios must change according to the socio-economic conditions. During the independence, our socio-economic conditions is so weak that the government intervention is required even in the private sector to for a boost in the demand and also social to satisfy the social needs of the people. So that the government intervention is required in the mixed economy. So maximum extent in the maximum proportion in the mixed economy is taken over by the government rather than the private. But in 1990s, the socio-economic conditions has changed. India want to foster its growth, so they require the private sector push. So the government must limit. So the proportion of the government regulation decreased, and the private sector is been open to space, given the freedom in LPG reforms of 1991, economic reforms in India. So World Bank rejected both state and capitalist models. It comes the World Development Report 1999. The report advocates for a mixture of both economic orders, that is mixed economy. It highlighted that both the concepts are complementary but not a dichotomy. Till now, till 1980s, till 1770s to 1980s, the debate nearly for 200 years, which is the best, capitalism is the best or socialism is the best. But World Bank told that there is no dichotomy. That is, if capitalist is there, no socialist will be. So if socialist is there, no capitalist. So there is dichotomy is ruled out. There is no dichotomy, but there is a complementary thing between the capitalist and the socialist. That is called hybrid model. Both the capitalist and socialist uh, can be mutually implemented together. That is complement. Both concepts are complementary to each other. Hybrid. That is mixed economy. Hence, it is advisable to have a balanced blend of both the economies. There comes the distribution systems. They evolved three distribution systems. Also evolved with three economic systems. Capitalist distributed through markets, socialist distributed without markets, mixed economy distributed through hybrid system. We have also seen the Washington Consensus. I claim this land is name of His Majesty IMF. I structurally adjust this land in the name of economic growth. So what the you can call it as a rebirth of Adam Smith. Adam Smith, Scotland, UK, rebirth of Adam Smith. There comes Washington Consensus. What actually the Washington Consensus is? 1990, 89, like that. Originally for Latin American countries, intended to address the real problems occurring in the Latin America. There are 10 Washington Consensus. There are 10 what we call a set of problems, a set of prescriptions, you can call it as, originally for Latin American countries, to take out the Latin American countries from the crisis, intended to address the real problems occurring in the Latin America. The term is coined by the US economist John Williamson. This is to set neoliberal economics prescriptions made by International Monetary Fund and World Bank, US Treasury to the developing countries that faced the economic crisis. It recommended structural reforms that increased the role of market forces in exchange for the immediate financial help. While some said that the Washington Consensus was used to impose harsh conditions that were helpful for economic recovery, while some said that Washington Consensus was used to impose harsh conditions that were helpful. That is, some anti-trade, anti-globalization people told that this Washington Consensus was used to impose harsh conditions that were unhelpful for economic recovery, but it recommended the structural reforms that increased a role of market forces in exchange for the immediate financial help. You can call it as balance of payment crisis. Others have argued that although not perfect, it was favorable to long-term economic growth in developing countries. Others have argued that although not perfect, it was favorable to long-term economic growth in the developing countries. So there are a set of reforms, 10 reforms you can call it as. What is a set of reforms? First thing, fiscal discipline must be there with the government, and also government must spend rather than subsidies, keep in the productive activities, that is capital expenditure, improve the capital expenditure rather than revenue expenditure in providing subsidies. If you if you improve the expenditure in the capital expenditure, you will get high returns in the future, high economic returns in the future, and also employment and also the growth will be there in the future, rather than just giving subsidy to boost the economy. So that is the two things. And also improve the tax reforms. If you improve the tax reforms, that is lessen the tax, you will increase the tax base rather than targeting the particular people. Hence the growth will be improved. It is also related to the trickle down effect of the economy of the growth. So these three reforms by the government. And also competitive exchange rate system must be inculcated. FDI liberalization of FDI norms, and also interstate liberalization, trade liberalization. So that will be helpful. Trade liberalization will be helpful. And also for companies to be deregulation of entry and exit barriers. And also privatization must be improved. And also protecting the protecting or safeguarding the private property. So these are the structural reforms that the Washington Consensus is been telling to the developing nations, favorable for the long-term economic growth in the developing countries. What are the reforms suggested? Low government borrowing to discourage the developing economies, controlling high fiscal deficits relative to their GDP, and curtailing the subsidies. Focus on the long-term growth, supporting sectors like primary education, primary healthcare, and infrastructure. Tax reform policies to broaden the tax base and adopt moderate marginal tax. And also interest rate liberalization. Market determined interest rates should be positive after taking inflation into accounting. Real interest rate. And also encouraging the competitive exchange rates through freely floating currencies rather than fixed floating currencies. Adoption of free trade policies. This should result in a liberalization of imports, removing trade barriers and tariffs and quotas. Free trade policies, liberalization of trade policies, relaxing the rules of FDIs, privatization of the state enterprises. Typically in the developing countries, these industries include railways, oil and gas. Deregulation of industries and making them competitive. Development of the property rights. Deregulating the industries and making them competitive. Deregulating the industries, making them competitive. Development of property rights, and so on. See, LPG is the key. Privatization, globalization, and the liberalization. Neoliberalism. Liberalization to increase the competition among the domestic industries. Encourage the to increase the competition. To increase the competition among the domestic industries. Encourage what is liberalization? Liberalization is nothing but FDI liberalization, trade liberalization, interstate liberalization, encouraging the foreign trade, opening up the industrial sectors, delicensing, ending license raj, single window clearances to increase the competition among the domestic industries, encouraging the foreign trade, opening up of the industrial sectors, delicensing the industrial license raj, privatization by disinvestment PSUs, by withdrawal of governmental ownership and management of the public sector enterprises. White elephants we already seen with respect to the public sector enterprises. So that is globalization, or we can call it as McDonaldization. What are the world views on this? Nothing but neoliberalism, market fundamentalism, advent of globalization, again rebirth of the capitalism. So this can be taught as neoliberalism, can also be called as Thatcherism, Reaganomics, and free trade, reduced debt, deregulation, Thatcherism, neoliberalism, Reaganomics. It tended towards free market capitalism and away from the government spending, regulation, and public ownership. Neoliberalism supports fiscal austerity, deregulation, free trade, privatization, and greatly reduces the government spending. Promoted vastly by Margaret Thatcher, UK, Reaganomics, USA, Roger, and there is no alternative approach. There is an alternative. Market fundamentalism is nothing but includes an unshakable belief that the free markets maximize the individual freedom and that they are only means to economic growth. That is called market fundamentalism. Rejects techno-progressive policies such as social wage, social health care. It rejects all this. Social wage, what social wage? No social wage. Universal health care and basic income guarantee. Universal health care and basic income guarantee is being given. So demand and supply welfare is in contradiction. But what is this criticism of this neoliberalism? Some economists argue that free trade is not always the best option in the interesting of the developing countries. Some economists argue that the free trade is not always the best option in the interest of the developing countries. In long run projects, long run projects, government investments are always required. China has been taking benefit of this in African nations and the underdeveloped countries. Privatization can often lead to companies ignoring certain income. Privatization can often lead to companies ignoring certain low income markets or social needs of developing country. That is, what the privatization can do, companies ignoring certain low income markets. That is, suppose profit, there is less profit, private is shifted to only profit making markets. The social needs of the developing country may put at stake. So 2008 US subprime crisis or a great recession showed us a different picture, and Joseph Stiglitz tell that this is the end of neoliberalism. Keynesian economics remains only the option, that is state interventionist of the idea of interventionist state. Paul Krugman, US Nobel Prize economist Paul Krugman, idea of interventionist state. Amartya Sen, welfare economics. The Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, three arrows of Abenomics. So that is all about what are the three arrows of Abenomics. Strong economy, support the families with the children, social security. That is economic growth, social security, and support the families with the children education. So that is three arrows of Abenomics. And there comes the Beijing consensus, the idea of Joshua Cooper Remo. We'll see this Beijing consensus later.